spheres of influence. We start off with ourselves and our immediate families, and then we look at our social groups and communities, and then our workplaces, our villages, our cities, you know, and then our international relations and stuff like that. What I would like to do in the future, at some stage, if I come back, is to create something called a forest garden. A forest garden is an edible garden, and that's a perennial system. And why is it perennial? Because you go in there, and it's just how you do it with your oranges. You pick your oranges. That's a perennial system there, yeah? It's evolved to this degree. Every year you've got oranges and grapefruits and lemons, yeah? So you don't have to worry about buying any of those at the market, right? But how about a forest garden with a whole diversity of fruits which are just looking after themselves? And they actually, because the plants have matured after so many years, between 5 and 10 years, they condition the soil, they provide all their moisture needs, they mulch the soil. And there is going to be some maintenance, but it's low maintenance, and that's what we're aiming for in the perennial system, low maintenance. Just so that we can go in there and take out any threats. Too many weeds, too many pests, take them out so that they don't affect the stability of the whole system. So that's one idea. The other idea I thought is, certainly for demonstration, how about an aquaculture? Growing fish. You eat fish every day, right? So I think that's a great idea for a farm like this. Fish. You eat fish every day, but we're not eating any fish from the farm. Yeah? So, creating...
From the pond?
Not just this pond, but creating new ponds, a series of ponds or something like that. So that's another idea I've got. And if you have any great ideas, you should bring them up on the Monday morning meetings, you know. When you gather here, you think, can I do this? Can I have that? Like for instance, an oven. I've built about 5 clay ovens in Britain. I used to build ovens made of a mixture of cob and a mixture of sand and clay, which is what we call cob. So it's a natural oven, and you could take a sledgehammer and it wouldn't break unless you really smash it, because it's the first real concrete, and which the technology exists. And you can build these ovens, and they actually hold heat for 10, 12 hours a day. They can get well up over 300 degrees centigrade, yeah? And they cool down. And as it cools down, you work with that reduction in temperature. So you do your particular type of baking for bread, for instance, with the high temperatures, and it cools down, and then you're keeping food warm by the end of the night in these ovens. And they're made from the very soil that you build your houses with, you know? So I've built a few of those as well, so that's an idea. But I've seen some big ones at Sendeli. I saw some big ovens out there with metal doors, you know, really professional ovens, which they put firewood in. They heat up the cob or the clay, and the clay cob mixture holds the heat. You don't cook with the open flame. The heat gets radiated back into the oven, you see? So that's another technology which could be incorporated here. A big oven now, a big outdoor oven. But then you have to learn how to cook with that. So it's a different style of cooking.
So you have to make one for us.
I keep looking at you when I say cooking, I don't know. Yeah, you have to make one for you, yeah. What about a big one here?
She never cooks here.
Then you cook us?
No. Sometimes.
Sometimes. What do you do then? Just walk around? So, any questions? I mean, I could talk forever, because I've seen a lot of projects and things, but I will leave you some books. I need some books to work on, so I'm going to take some books back. But I'm going to see if I can get a donation of books from publishers to come to the farm. And I hope to lay down some sort of ground plan for the beds, the 6 beds, and then maybe just leave it to your imagination to build the other beds. But always bear in mind beneficial relationships, bringing new elements. Don't be afraid to experiment. You'll never discover anything new unless you experiment. Introducing new technologies, yeah. You were looking at me, Simon. Does permaculture sound a bit clearer?
No, it's okay now, yeah.
It's okay
I
now.
understand the concept now.
You understand, yeah? It's a permanent culture that we're trying to evolve towards. Because, you know, with all the global problems that we're having in the world, political, economic, social and everything else, it's really unsustainable. There is just no foresight in international governments, the way that there is foresight, but there's just so little of it implicated. And yet they know all the problems that are going to arise. You know, in the Antarctic, a huge glacier has broken off. You know, has broken off, and it's massive, which means as it moves further, I think it's in the Arctic. As it moves further south, it begins to melt. Yeah, so all that trapped moisture, which is fresh water, gets salinized, and then what you find is that sea levels begin to rise, and they begin to rise and start affecting coastal regions around the continent. And it can, if anyone knows about global warming, they're saying there's a tipping point, which means that if temperatures rise on average maybe between 2 and 3 degrees more since pre-industrial levels, which is about 200 years ago, then all of a sudden it can create unprecedented catastrophes on the earth. Unprecedented. Because everything will suddenly accelerate, and then you will see massive extinctions, migrations, and people will be looking to places like Africa because there's a huge amount of land here, especially if like places in the north begin to freeze for one reason or another, other places overheated, more desertification, more deserts. So that's the real bigger picture, which is what we should be relying on our governments to deal with, and they should be supplying the funds and the encouragement for activities on eye level. So you have a seed here. How do you plant that seed onto another place? That can only be a permaculture, right? You're planting a seed. Anyone want to ask a question, or should we call it a day and come find me afterwards? It's cool. I mean, as I say, I can talk and talk and talk, and I don't want to just talk and no one really cares. I know it's going to have a different type of relevance to each of you, but that's part of your education. You've got a school.
I think this is actually a good interaction.
Yeah, it's an introduction only.
Yeah.
So you can introduce it into your school.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Can you teach children climate change? Can you teach them how to go through climate change?
I've got. We already do that.
Yeah.
A lot of things about environmental issues. Some of the things that we know about, like greenhouse effects, like pollution and all that stuff.
Pollution, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the local villages. I mean, I couldn't live in a village like that. Yeah. With that much plastic on the ground, if I had any spare time, I'd rake it up and burn it. I could not live in a place like that. Okay, so I come from a cleaner environment. But that's like, if you cannot take responsibility for your own local environment, what care in the world would you have for the rest of the world? Eh? What care would you have? You wouldn't. If you cannot care about your own local environment, that says something about what type of person you are. And you know, I'm being critical, but I've seen it all over the north of Africa. Huge mounds of rubbish and plastic that people just can't be bothered to deal with, you know.
But you have to say that in Amsterdam, the streets do not look better.
Do not look better?
No.
Really, they're that bad?
If there were not like the government would not clean it every day,
Yeah?
maybe twice a day,
People don't bother.
then no, you see it all over the place. They throw stuff, tourists throw stuff just in the river. You should see the canals.
Yeah.
In the canals, it's like
What's a kennel? A dock kennel?
the canals.
Oh, canals.
The
The
canals.
canals, yeah?
It looks like the film you said, Wally.
What, Wally, yeah.
Inside the kennels as well.
Yeah.
It looks
Really,
Wally,
like that?
yes.
It's full of rats and stuff, probably, because it's junk and that's what they like.
Bicycles.
Thousands of rats, bicycles,
Yeah.
cars.
Right. So you can see, let's not just pick on Africans or poor people or anything like that. Yeah, it's you know, people become what's the word?
Complacent.
What's the word?
Complacent.
Complacent. Yeah, thanks. Complacent if they have too much of a good thing sometimes. and or complacent if they, I don't know if that's the right word, but complacent if they haven't had too much of a good thing. You know, so it's all about equality. If everyone feels that they're part of something, I'm sure social attitudes would change. In Morocco, it's in the food chain. Plastics got into the gut of the goats and in the milk. So it's actually getting into the human food chain. Interesting, eh? It's affecting human genetics, plastic.
That's actually not only Morocco, but it's like it's going beyond the river,
Yeah.
the rivers, even some of the fish that fishermen are catching. In most cases around the world, you find that some of the fish have been chopping those plastics and actually
Yes.
transformed.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that. That's true. Yeah, and it can get assimilated into the human system because plastic's got a very similar molecule or something to.
So in the long run, scientists are even coming up with experiments that in the long run, plastics and other types of some of these contaminated chemicals will be running into our blood system.
So you just see a minty packet. Well, there's no plastic around it. It's great. I don't mind seeing bits of wood hanging around. I think it just shows it's being used. You know, that's been really resourceful.
I think the world is actually looking into that.
Yeah.
Over the last 5 years, it was much more crazy in the Gambia. Since the policy has been, introduced and plastic has been banned, that was really a good move.
I think so. I think that was a great idea. You know that thing that when you stop the cars.
Anything in the streets. I tell you, if you were here 4 years ago,
It was worse.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
I think maybe like 2 years ago.
That was 2013.
Ingo.
2013, they implemented. 2014, the rule was executed. In 2014.
Can I make an observation here?
What 2014?
2014.
When does the abandoned class was back? It's not 2015. It's 2015.
Remember last year was 2016.
This is 5 years. We are entering 2016. We are just finished 2014 there.
Can I make an observation about what what they call it? Oh, right. So, it doesn't matter. It could be 14. It could be 2014. It doesn't matter what year it was.
Already that implementation it was done 4 months before I had that registration program about environmental issues.
But it's only a year that we are having the other bags in the shop, and I think definitely.
No, nowadays they are even bringing back plastics again.
It's coming
Because
back.
the idea is gone.
It's
So
coming
they
back.
take
And I've seen a lot of plastics.
But they said the law is still there.
Well, people are trying to.
Sometimes it's very difficult to gauge the benefits of a change or an element into a system unless you really observe it over a good period of time, you know. Like we were talking about the irrigation, you know, how the plants have improved. But when they improve gradually, day by day, you don't notice it sometimes. You know, it's the henna plants over there, up near where the nursery is. They're looking very good now, you know. They're looking very nice. But the point I wanted to say to you was like, you're thinking in terms of years and dates and stuff like that, but how about looking at ephemera for a solution? Because is it true that when the rainy season comes, all that plastic gets buried? It goes to the river, it disappears. So it's almost as if to say, something else, God is taking care of our pollution problems. It disappears underneath the mud or goes down to the river. So the streets get really clean during the rainy season, right? No, it doesn't. Okay.
Horrible.
It's horrible. It's even worse, is it?
Yeah.
It's even worse. There we are. It's just that you can't burn it during the wet season. Okay. So I feel like next time you go back to your village, you bring yourself a little rake and a box of matches, yeah?
Yeah, we're thinking about, you know, if you understand a little bit about permaculture, you will know the system is good for Africans, I think, because we just live anything like that. So if you understand a little bit about permaculture, you will know how to you will know how to
Work with nature?
Yeah, you will know how to work with nature, and you will change your system.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you agree with it.
Yeah.
That's if you agree with it.
You change your system because, as you said last year, everything garden. It starts inside your house, outside
Yeah.
your
Starts
area.
inside your mind.
So you see,
Yeah.
permaculture is part of us. We have to love it.
Well, I mean, when you consider nature, what's the most successful system on this planet? It's nature. It's been around for billions of years. So why fight against it? Why try to change it? It's an interesting conundrum. It's an interesting issue that we just think we can dominate nature because what do humans think they are? You know, aliens? That they've come to dominate the earth? Or do they think they're part of nature? If you're part of nature, you look for your answers there, right? Yeah, everything gardens, so we've gardened, every footstep, you know, every not idea, but every decision you make gardens. Alright, that's enough talking, isn't it? Thanks. Cheers. Come see me afterwards if you want to borrow a book or ask any more questions.
Kami sa